Welcome, everybody, once again to DAZN MMA Show. Sean O'Connell here, Dan Hardy over across the pond, just north of London. And joining us from Paris, France, a guy we're very excited to see make his PFL debut in Paris, Cedric Doumbe, former world champion kickboxer turned undefeated mixed martial artist, a man who wears many hats. Cedric, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you for inviting me. I'm good. And you?
Doing great, and very excited as we get closer to the PFL Europe playoffs in Paris, France. Now, Dan, you were supposed to be part of the PFL Europe, or excuse me, the PFL Global season. And Dan, the whole time, was like, no, I want to see this guy in Paris. I want this man headlining our event in Paris. And Dan Hardy apparently always gets his way. I know it wasn't what you planned on originally, but how excited are you that you will be making your PFL debut? Your first fight in this organization will be on home soil.
Yeah, I can't wait. Really, I can't wait. Sometimes things happen with some reason. I had that injury in my wrist, and unfortunately I couldn't be able to show up in Atlanta. But now that's a good news because I'm very glad to make my PFL debut in Paris in front of my audience and my fans.
Do you feel any additional pressure fighting at home, or do you prefer it? Does it make life easier?
For me, like performing in front of my people, like is, I have more pressure. It's not like I fought in USA, I fought around the world, but Paris is something special. Always.
So, look, people who watched you in kickboxing know how dangerous you are in the striking arts. Mixed martial arts, of course, is a completely different animal, but so far you've had a lot of success transitioning over, undefeated, as I already mentioned, as a pro mixed martial artist. And look, we think that as you dive headfirst into the PFL, that the level of competition is going to increase. So as you've made this transition as an experienced combat sports professional, what's been like the biggest surprise for you as you've picked up MMA?
For me, like the big surprise still is the condition. Like the condition is way different than kickboxing. Like when you strike and then you have to rest and then strike again, that's very amazing. So I still improving my condition at it. I still working. I still improving myself. But for me, it's like the way different. That's why I never go down. Nobody can take me down because I don't want to. And still, if I go down, I can get up and do my thing. And I also improving my skills in the ground because I really like it. I like wrestling. That's why that's the good things I discovered in MMA. The love of wrestling. Before I was like, I'm a striker. I like striking, and I will strike. That's it. But I really like the wrestling, and I'm improving my skill at it.
I'm curious because you mentioned how difficult the conditioning thing is. Are you so experienced as a striker now that it's actually hard for you to get truly exhausted striking because you know how to manage your energy, like the efficient way in which you can manage everything while you're striking? I imagine that you don't get that tired in even hard sparring and maybe even fights.
No, for me, like when I spar, or like imagine I spar in boxing sparring, like kickboxing sparring. For me, it's way easy. It's very easy. But the thing is, when you start to rest, like maybe 30 seconds, and then you have to strike again. That's the crazy thing. That's the crazy part of the game, and that's the most difficult for me. I ain't gonna lie.
What's been the biggest adjustment for your striking abilities? For transitioning to mixed martial arts, does the space in the arena change it so you don't have the corners in the ring anymore, or is the range different for you? How have you adjusted your striking for MMA?
What I just is in kickboxing, I love to play with the ropes. I love to turn around and I have a very great foot movements. and I really like to play with the ropes. But in MMA, when you're too close of the cage, then it's easy for your opponent to take you down. So it's not the same game. So I had to adjust that. I don't really like the center of the ring, but in MMA I have to take the center of the cage. So that's why I adjust. And about my stance and my striking, of course, your guard is a little bit different, because when you take like a small jab with boxing gloves, it's not the same with MMA gloves. So I have to adjust that. And but beside that, everything was like, I feel already good in with the MMA gloves in the cage, because even my stance in kickboxing is like unorthodox. It's not a kickboxing stance. It's not a Muay Thai stance. So that's why that wasn't really difficult, but I had to adjust some small things.
How much do you study tape on an opponent and specifically prepare or game plan for an opponent? In kickboxing, how much did you do it, and how much have you done that in MMA? Because we still don't know who your opponent's going to be in Paris about 10 weeks out.
You know what? I never watch like the fight of my opponent. That's right. I watch like 1 minute and that's it. I pick one fight, 1 minute of the fight, and in 1 minute I can see how my opponent is. Of course, I know if he's a hard puncher. I know if he's a good condition guy. But I watch 1 minute, and in 1 minute I can know everything. So I don't need more to analyze my opponent. I leave it to my coach, and I don't like to watch fights.
Man, I need to
I don't know
streamline
why.
my research.
Maybe that brings so much stress on me. I don't like to. I just watch 1 minute and that's it.
Yeah.
What if you pick the wrong minute? What if you choose the minute that they don't really show who they are? What if you, or like it's the best minute of their career, so you're like, oh, this guy is a killer, and you get all worried, and they're really not as good.
No, I just need to see if the guy is like aggressive. I just need to see if he's tall, he's long, he like to throw his hands or his foot. I don't need more. I just need to watch how he moves, and that's it. Then I'm not surprised. Then when I come in the cage in front of him, I'm not surprised how he moves. I know I already watched it, but I don't need to watch more, like when he knocks people out, when he gets knocked out, and things like that.
Do you have a favorite submission yet?
My grappling coach is an expert on guillotine, so I would like to put some guillotine one day,
Okay.
then he could be proud. But the one I like more is the arm triangle.
Oh.
Yeah.
Top position. Beat them up a little bit first and then put them in an arm triangle. Yeah,
exactly.
I like it.
Because
I like it.
I have like long arms, so I like it.
So we've got guys in the PFL who transitioned from pro kickboxing and now are PFL champions. Cedric Doumbe is the most notable, right? A man who didn't have as decorated of a kickboxing career as you, and he's been in the PFL now for 5 years. It took him till his 4th year to win his first championship. But is there a model, Cedric or other fighters that you see making that transition from striking arts and kickboxing to be truly successful mixed martial artists that you think you can follow?
I have to make you guys a confidence. When I watched the last PFL event in Atlanta, I was very, very disappointed, because I watched like the guy I had to fight, Jara.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Magomed Umaratov, the guy who, for me, was the most like scary guy in that division. But that was before I watched his fight. And and I watched also Cedric Doumbe, and I was like, damn, like I don't even need to make like so much effort to to take that belt, because I thought the level was higher than that. Cedric Doumbe is not like he only got his his legs. You know, I think he come from taekwondo or karate, something like that. But I watch his fight. He's a good fighter, of course. I'm not gonna lie, but like his level is way far than my level. You know, I'm a way better MMA fighter, not only striker, MMA fighter than him.
Already.
Yeah, of course, of course. You know, I watched his the whole fight, and even the way he defend the takedown. That, you know, I don't even think he trained he trained that much MMA, because that was ridiculous. So I'm very confident, you know, in that division. Those guys, they are very good guys, but not enough, you know, to make me like to scare me. I'm very confident. I can't wait to face them, you know. So
Do you think it'd be important to get more experience, or do you feel like your kickboxing record was experience enough to step into the higher level MMA fights now?
you know, if I want to talk by myself, I would say tomorrow I can face them, you know. But of course, I will not throw away experience, you know. I always take experience. Experience is always a benefit for myself. But I can face them tomorrow, you know. I don't need more. I saw their fight, and I saw enough.
All right. So as you're training in mixed martial arts, like as you're getting yourself ready for Paris, you don't know who your opponent is right now. I want to know how you approach training. Do you start grappling rounds on your back in worst case scenario positions to make sure that you're truly absorbing all the like difficult and terrible moments that you could have in a fight in a grappling scenario? Or like how do you factor in, or how do you structure your grappling especially to make sure that you're maximizing your growth?
Okay, there are three parts of the training I'm focused on. The first part is, of course, I'm sharpening my power, like my striking. You know, I'm good at it, so I'm sharpening it. The second part is, of course, the condition. The condition, you know, I put myself in the worst case scenario, like someone taking my back. I have to, you know, I have to get up. I have to get out of the position, and then I have to strike again. And then I go down again, and then get up and strike again. So the worst case scenario for my condition. And the third part, of course, is only the ground part. And of course, the same thing. I put myself in the worst case scenario. The guy on the back, the guy on single leg, double leg, me back on the cage, and that's it. You know, that's for me. If I'm like now, I'm like 40% of my condition, because it's only the beginning of the training camp. I'm 40% of the condition. Same when the guy take my back, or maybe double leg, or things like that. Worst case scenario. If I'm like 60%, nobody can beat me. So imagine if I'm 100%.
It's a scary thought. What are your thoughts on the growth of MMA in France since it was legalized? I mean, it seems to have not only kind of established itself, but it's grown a lot quicker than it has in other places in Europe.
In France, we always got like good audience, good people. You know, they were starving to MMA in France. Now that MMA is legalized in France, they are very happy. You know, they like combat sport artists, even combat sport media. They are very glad, and that put a lot of I don't know how to say it in France. Like people are very crazy now for in MMA. Before that was soccer, and now soccer fans. The MMA bring soccer fans in MMA, and now you know we. Mixed martial artists are very glad, because now like people are starting to recognize our work, you know, because before that was just, oh, you do MMA, you do combat sport, that's good, but that's it. Now it's a very big thing, because of course PFL, UFC, Bellator. Now is a very big thing. When you say that you're an MMA fighter, like people respect you now, but before.
And how much does Cedric Doumbe headlining an event in Paris increased the PFL, it's not MMA, the PFL specifically, the attention. You're a big star in France, so you headlining a PFL event rather than like a UFC event. How much does that do for the PFL?
I think for PFL is very good. You know, I think I had to do that first that PFL debut in Paris. So everything is adjust. For me, I'm very glad to be part of that PFL story, and now also with Francis Ngannou, as he's shining with PFL. That's very good for us. That's very good for PFL, and I don't know if you know, guys, if you guys know, but after we announced my fight, like the venue were like sold out after maybe 3 days, and I'm very glad, you know, because people are already waiting my fight, and also waiting that first PFL event in Paris. So I can't wait.
That must be really motivating to know that all the tickets have sold out for your main event fight. That must be exciting just for the start of training camp to motivate you.
That make me scared. I'm a little bit afraid because I have a big pressure, but I need that pressure. I need that pressure to perform, and I really like it. I can't wait in front of my family, my friends, and that motivates me a lot when I'm tired in the training, when I don't want to wake up in the morning. That motivates me a lot.
We talked about this.
I can't lose.
You mentioned him, so I want to ask you your thoughts on Francis Ngannou and what Francis has been able to do. Not only signing with the PFL, but very recently we heard the news that he's signed a huge boxing fight contract with Tyson Fury, the baddest heavyweight mixed martial artist on the planet versus the baddest heavyweight boxer on the planet. This is a huge combat sports event happening in October. Wanted your thoughts on Francis. Obviously, you guys have a lot in common.
When I saw that, I was amazed. I was like, damn. That's a big fight in the combat sport is history. There's a very big fight, a very big matchup. I'm confident, you know, it's not going to be an easy fight for Francis. We ain't gonna lie, you know. I can't say that it's gonna be easy for Francis because his Tyson Fury is in front of him, and we know how Tyson Fury is good, and we know how Tyson Fury is tough. But as a Cameroonian, I know impossible is not Cameroonian, so we can do everything, and I'm confident. You know, I trust him, and always, you know, I always got his back. You know, always behind Francis.
Do we see Cedric Doumbe in a crossover boxing match? Maybe Floyd Mayweather or Jake Paul or someone who would be interesting for you?
Yes, of course. Of course. I will never say no for a combat fight. Some people, you know, in France told me about a fight against Jake Paul. I was like, yes, why not? I talk about a fight against Canelo, and people were like, "No, come on, man, it's Canelo." I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." But yeah, I would not say no. You know, and, I like the you know, that part of also of the combat sport, to mix combat sport and let's see, you know, it's fun. Some people don't take it like seriously, but I think it's also fun. You know, it's also fun.
So Francis is supposed to make his debut early next year for the PFL, probably sometime around February. Jake Paul is supposed to fight his first MMA fight in the PFL, maybe on that same card. Cedric Doumbe, February after a September show. Is that something you'd be interested in? Or is your focus on you want to be in the global season chasing the $1 million championship next year?
You know, well, I used to fight every month when I was in kickboxing. For me, the activity make me perform better. So if I can fight September, February, December, if I can fight every 3 months, you know, I will never say no if I'm able to fight. So of course, I'm more focused on the $1 million tournament. but I will never say no if they propose me a fight.
Cedric, very much looking forward to calling your PFL debut. We're 10-ish weeks out now. Last question for me before we let you go. Do you care who you fight? Are you throwing names at the PFL saying this is who I want? Or are you just the type of guy, whoever they put in front of you, you go, you get the job done?
Listen, after the last PFL event in Atlanta, I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, now I don't care whoever they put in front of me, I will just fight, because for me they are all the same. It's everybody in PFL in my division, they are all the same. For me, I'm just training, and I can, I don't care who they put in front of me. I can fight, even two fight in a night. I can do
All
it.
right, I lied. That wasn't my last question because you brought it up again. So you're telling me that you don't mind the idea that all of the welterweights on the PFL roster are going to see this interview, and you're saying I could beat any of you right now. I'm not scared of any of you. Like you're totally fine bringing a little bad blood already.
Maybe you think it's bad blood, but it's real blood. That's what I think. That's real. So that's what I think. That's my thought. So yeah, if they watch this interview, I can fight everybody. Magomed, Sadi Boussi, everybody in the division. For me, it's gonna be easy. And of course, I talk, but everybody knows that when I talk, I always back it up.
I'm going to leave it at that. Cedric Doumbe, thank you for your time today. We will
Thank
see
you.
you in Paris in September. I'm going to need some restaurant recommendations. I'm coming over a couple days early to catch some rugby and eat some good food.